Another beautiful, beautiful day. You know, these aren't the days that I would leave the Northeast for. The days that I would leave the Northeast for and go down to the South, to Florida, are coming. They are coming. Winter is coming. It's still only September, right? But when winter gets here, then we know. Oh, unless you guys are winter lovers. A lot of people here want to go skiing. They want to be out in the snow. Not me. I don't want to shovel that snow anymore either, although I stopped doing that a bunch of years ago. But so guys, where is everybody? I always say that every day. Where? Oh, there we go. Amanda Simpson. Hello, everyone. Good to see you, Amanda. Amanda, you light up my life. They should have made you a gentleman's wife. I got my first guitar when I was 14, and I'm over 30 and still wearing jeans. Amanda, you light up my life. They should have made you a gentleman's wife. A little Waylon Jennings. Every time I hear a name, it reminds me of a song. Amanda. That's a great tune, Amanda. I like that name, Amanda. Very strong, womanly name, Amanda. You just expect the person who is Amanda, you're not going to mess with, right? That's that strong name. Barty, Daytona Beach. Yes. Oh, Florida's looking good, you know. I'd rather be in an area, though. Love the singing. Hubby saying, who's that you're watching? He got jealous. He heard someone singing your name, Amanda, you know. Amanda Simpson, right? Diane Krause. Hello, 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 guys. How's everyone doing today? Sergeant George Ishag. Hello. How are you, Sarge? Good to see you, buddy. Yeah, so you know it's weird. As much as I love Jupiter, when I came home and it wasn't even that late. I guess it was about, I don't know, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. And I pulled into my driveway and I felt good. I guess you always feel good to be home. This is my home, you know. Uh, Amanda Simpson, my copper on the side. So yeah, I'm your shorty. That's what they call it in New York, shorty. Uh, Kim Alliston, happy Tuesday, everyone. You know, I've been doing these, I don't know if you guys have seen them. I put up like 1 minute videos sometimes, not every single day, but sometimes, and I put them on Instagram and Facebook and just saying hello to everyone or wishing everyone a morning. And I have my coffee, you know, coffee with Cannon mug there. And Aunt BB2, hello, 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 25 in the chat. Come on, guys, let's get now all you across the pond people. The Queen's funeral is over. You have no excuse. Sergeant George Ishaga, you're going to be 29. I think you said you were 28. You're going to turn 29 on Monday. Moonlight View, hello, Supreme Commander. Love that name. Michelle, Mickey Mantle's on board. After all, hi, all. It's always good to see all you guys, you know. So, yeah, so when I was saying when I pulled into the driveway of my house, I felt good, you know. You're home. Home, sweet home. They always say that, right? There's nothing. What did Dorothy say in The Wizard of Oz? The good witch said, "Click your heels together and repeat after me. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. There's no place like home." Right? And next thing, George Ishag, you're gonna be 28. Oh, so you were counting the year before you had it yet, right? Maybe that's why you confused me. I thought you said you were 28 and you were going to be 29. Maybe it's because you were counting the year before it was your actual birthday. Happy birthday, Sergeant George Ishak. It's going to be Monday will be your birthday. Gail Salatori, there's no place like home, right? That's what Dorothy said in The Wizard of Oz. There's no place like home. Crazy, right? Yeah, it's Talks to Angels. Good afternoon, Bill. She said she talks to angels. That's another good tune, right? Was that Guns N' Roses or am I wrong? Whose tune is that? I think it is Guns N' Roses, right? Mickey Mantle, hey, Kim Allison, Miss Kimmy. Good to see all you guys in the chat. 32 in the chat. Black Crows, that's right. I couldn't think of the name. The Black Crows, when they came out, everyone said they were a copy of the Rolling Stones, but I don't think they are. I don't think they sound that much like the Rolling Stones. They're a good band, though, right? They're a very good band, the Black Crows. I don't even know if they're still together. been a long time. After all, home is where the heart is, Sergeant Bill. Bring your family, you'll get used to Florida. Unfortunately, my wife is not ready to uproot yet. She's got a lot of things holding her here, specifically her job. And she's got two elderly parents. Her mother's 82 and her father's 83. Her mother's in Manhattan and her father's up in the Adirondacks. So that's sort of keeping us here for a while, you know. So, Aunt BB2, after all, hi there. Teresita Hills. Good morning, Bill. Good morning. Excuse me. Something just made me sneeze there. It's not even allergy season, right? True Crime with Shannon. What does she do for work? I think I told you guys, and my wife hates when I tell people she works for an A-list movie star. She's been with him for 25 years. And he does 3 movies a year, just about every damn year. So he's busy. And I don't think he's in any danger of being unemployed. So as long as he's employed, she's going to be employed. And she's been, as I said, she's been with him for 25 years. Crazy, right? Crazy. Kim Alliston, thank you. Sergeant Bill, bless you. Thank you. I can use all the blessings I can get. Everyone can, right? No one ever turned down a blessing. I remember when I used to tend bar years ago at Pete's Tavern on 18th Street and Irving Place. It's still there. It's been there since 1864. Governor 247, hi Bill, or is it Tom Cruise? Are you going to Florida for the... Yes, I am going to Florida for the winter, as of November 1st. So I used to tend bar there, and Monsignor George Murphy, who was the pastor of the parish on 82nd Street, which years later I would wind up working in that precinct. He used to come into Pete's Tavern every Sunday night, and he would have dinner there with another 1 or 2 priests, and he would drink Jack Daniels on the rocks, and he would have at least 3, sometimes 4 Jack Daniels on the rocks. And when he would drink a lot, his eyes would tear, and there'd be tears running down his face. And then he would come out and he'd give me a blessing. I think it was called the Jack Daniels blessing back then. But Monsignor George Murphy, yeah, good man. So we're getting a tour of the area of the... Yeah, when I get to Florida, I'll bring my gimbal out there, and I'll give you a tour once I learn the area. From where the condo is, it's 0.6 of a mile to the ocean, and you can walk right to the Intracoastal. Zutzin Bootzi, the spirit was with him. Absolutely, Monsignor George Murphy. He used to give me a blessing. I would take it, whether it was with holy water or Jack Daniels. I'll take that blessing, you know. It worked. He blessed me. I've been blessed for all these years, you know. Oh, God. Jolene. Jack Daniels blessing, yeah. Amanda Simpson. Patricia Burns, it looks lovely there, Bill. I got some new glasses, the same as yours, after seeing yours. And I love, you know, these are just really cheapo reading glasses, but I can't read now without, I'm supposed to get, I actually have been lazy. I'm supposed to go to the optometrist. Misty Kate, good to see you. I'm supposed to go to the optometrist and get driving glasses. I'm supposed to wear glasses when I drive. So I got to do that. Before I go to Florida, I got to do that. I've been lazy. All right, guys, you know, I wanted to talk about the Jolissa Fuentes case. And I know that Adventures with Purpose, Doug Bishop and Nick Rinn, they were on a show the other night talking about it. And one of the things, of course, that the Adventures with Purpose, and I have nothing but praise for them, but there is an area where they end and the police begin, and vice versa. Jolene, I won't miss those damn chickens. No, I will not. Someone just asked me if I'll miss those chickens when I'm gone. No, they're not my chickens. I won't miss hearing those bark, bark, barks, you know, and that rooster that gives out the scream, you know. So anyway, they were on the show, and of course the best thing that they do, you know, True Crime with Shannon, I don't know the whole story as Adnan Syed. I don't know, look, I know every district attorney these days has conviction integrity units, and they go back over cases where there were convictions 20 something years ago. And as much as they tried, district attorneys actually try to find fault with some of the cases that were presented. And I know a lot of the cases, I know someone that does that, that reinvestigates the cases, and they actually try to push him to find people innocent that are guilty as all hell. So I'm a little suspect of that whole game plan they're doing there, the conviction integrity unit. I mean, unless it's like, try a case 22 years after it occurred, or 23 years after it occurred. You think you can get a conviction? Where are all the witnesses? Some of them are dead. Some of them moved away. Some of them forgot what happened. You can't remember things the same way, True Crime with Shannon, I don't know. I'm not talking specifically about that case. I'm talking about the overall thing of district attorneys that have, the trend now is to get people out of prison. So, and I truly believe that district attorneys' offices don't give a damn if they're guilty or not. They want to get people out of prison. And in Manhattan, we're seeing a lot of crazy things. There was a guy that went crazy with a hatchet the other day in a McDonald's. He was bailed that night. That night he was bailed. A guy with a hatchet did thousands and thousands of dollars, menaced people with a hatchet. He should be out on the street. Yeah. And then I just don't understand the politics of bail reform. There's a dangerous guy with a hatchet and pulls it out in a McDonald's and he's out the same night. I just, all right, let's get off that subject. I want to get back on the Jolissa Fuentes case, okay? So she's been missing now since August 7th. It's a long time, right? So I believe that the police in Selma, California, I think they believe that this case is a criminal case. And it's appearing that it is a criminal case right now, because this is unlike her. I watched the Doug Bishop and Nick Wren interview the mom, the aunt, and the sister of Jolissa. Marilyn Minetta, good to see you. Patricia Burns, it's quite perplexing, this one. And the family has been working really hard trying to find her. And they'll mobilize 100 people to look for Jolissa. And that's really, I can tell you the police would love things like that if they can have people searching, free searchers, and they give them a hint of where they should go search. However, when this goes from a missing person into a criminal matter, law enforcement is going to keep things very close to the vest, because you don't know. Hard to handle, whole bill. It's pouring rain where I'm at. Some places need a lot of rain. We had a drought here almost the whole summer. You can see my grass behind me. It's all burnt, So anyway, the police got to keep things closer to the vest once they determine that this case has become criminal. I just missed, someone just put something in the chat. It went by too fast. I'm talking about the Jolissa Fuentes case, okay? She's the 22-year-old woman who is missing since August 7th from Selma, California, from like it was called an A&P gas station at about 4:30 in the morning, I believe, was the last time she was seen. And then she tried to FaceTime someone at I believe it was 5:24 in the morning. So at 4:06 she was last seen at a A&P gas station in Selma. And then at 5:24 that same morning, she tried to FaceTime someone. And that's the last she's been heard from. And that was on August 7th. Now, Adventures with Purpose searched the waterways in that area. The main one where the phone was pinging at is a place called Avocado Lake. And they searched that lake, Doug Bishop, Nick Wren, and they cleared the lake. They were satisfied that it was a wind toy lake, a pine flat lake, and they did a little sort of a rendezvous by Lakeview Ramp. I don't know if they searched it because I think that it perhaps was one of the lakes was too shallow for a car to have gone into. So it's they were still working on this case. Now, one of the things, of course, that Adventures with Purpose needs to do, and the police need to do if they're going to entrust them and allow them into the investigation. And I think that it's a double-edged sword. I think the police, they realize what Adventures with Purpose can do in regards to the searches of waterways. Amanda Simpson, huge rabbit hole, lots of content, really will make you think. So the police won't always ingratiate someone and take them into the investigation. I think they trust Adventures with Purpose for doing the searches of the waterways, but they may not trust them with the inside criminal information that they have. They're not going to share that with anyone else except law enforcement. But one of the things that Adventures with Purpose has to do early on in these investigations is to discuss with police, where do we begin searching? Where is the best place? What do you have? Where's the last place that the phone pinged? So, I mean, this is getting to be the language of YouTube. People hear, everyone's a phone expert now. People hear cell phones pinging, and they know that a cell phone will give its GPS coordinates based upon the phone pinging off a cell site, which will give the coordinates of where that person is or where that person's phone is. So it's tremendously helpful in a missing person case, in a kidnapping case. Heather, whatever, could the phone have been tossed in the water? AWP has not to make statements. You're referring to the Jolissa Fuentes case? Or from what we know, and not to segue into another case, but in the Kylie Rodney case, no one has verified that they ever found her cell phone yet. Has anyone heard that? We actually asked that of Doug Bishop, and there's been no confirmation. They didn't find it. There's been no confirmation whether or not Kylie Rodney's cell phone was ever found. So let's get back to Jolissa Fuentes. Amanda Simpson, that's how it needs to be. Bill, law enforcement needs to be able to do the job. You're right, Amanda Simpson, 100%. I was very closed-mouthed and wouldn't share any information with anyone outside law enforcement, even some people in law enforcement. Some of them had big mouths. And if they didn't need to know, what we were talking about, I wouldn't tell them, because some people shared information with people that had no right to know. Some detectives, some cops would get right on the phone with the press and tell them what we had, which was horrendous. There's so much dissemination in the NYPD of information. Every time you have a major case, every couple of hours someone's calling one police plaza and updating some idiot from the chief of detectives office, and then he spreads the information out through the entire one police plaza building. Before you know it, everyone knows, So not everyone in the police department needs to know this stuff either. One of the things on the police department, I'll tell you guys, they had this thing called a DD5 system, and it's a complaint follow-up system. And as with computer technology, all the complaint follow-ups and the complaint reports were on a computer database. So every time a detective would type a complaint follow-up, every time a detective interviews anyone, they do a DD5 or a complaint follow-up. That goes into a database of DD5s and connected to the case and connected to the detective who has the case number, the complaint, all that stuff. It's all identified. However, the security of that was not good enough for me as far as I'm concerned. How do you know that someone on the police department that may have clearance to read this case could have a relative or a friend or a family member involved in this case, and he could tip them off, right? One of the safeguards is that when you go in, look at the case, you're supposed to sign your name at the bottom. And not everyone, of course, has clearance to go into the case and to read the case. But I was very uncomfortable with that. And some cases, you know, if the names of certain people get out there, those people's lives are in danger. That's the whole thing now, too. And I don't know how much you guys know about discovery. Discovery is evidence in all materials that the prosecution has. They must give to the defense. And now it has been spread so far that the defense will actually get the names and addresses of the complainants. How horrendous is that? So the defense, if the guy's a rapist, the lawyer for the rapist and the rapist is going to get your home address? In fact, it's gotten so ridiculous that they're allowed to inspect the crime scene. What if the crime scene was your home? You're going to let the mope that committed the crime back into your home? This is where we are as a society. Just unbelievable. After all, Sergeant Mill, can canines help with Jolissa Fuentes? Guys, you know something? It's already been, so since the 7th, right? It's been 5 going on 6 weeks, right? That's, yeah, if they were going to use canine, it should have been done already. You know, they should have brought the dogs out. But I think that they thought they had a pretty good idea where she was, where the phone was pinging. So they didn't use canine. So I don't know if at this point it would be helpful, because Denise Olis, they kept us in the dark until a week before court. Sherilyn Schaff, the criminals get so much more consideration for their rights than do victims. That's very true, guys. I think the system has gone crazy. I really do. And, you know, at least in New York, and I know a lot of you guys aren't from New York, this whole bail reform thing is nuts. It's really, really nuts. And I don't know how, once you open up this Pandora box, how do you close it? How do you close this box? 107 people in the chat, 58 with the thumbs up, guys. If you're not subscribed to Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories, go on our YouTube, hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and ring that bell. And if you want to support us, we have a Patreon with 3 different levels, and we have a YouTube channel membership with 5 different levels. So you could support us there, guys. Anyway, I call this show Coffee with Cannon, Bitchin' with Bill, Backyard Beverage, many things. Sometimes I even let the audience name the show for the day. Canadian Cookie, hello everyone. Good to see you, Canadian Cookie. Love that name too. I wonder if that's how Cleotha found his victim from published docs, since she was connected to the lawyer he kidnapped. I think that guy Cleotha, that savage that killed Eliza Fletcher, I think that he was stalking her. He was at that location 20 minutes before she ran by. So I think that he was stalking her. And I did a story before I left to Florida about the fact that he raped someone on September 21st, 2021. Heather, whatever, thank you for the $4.99 super chat. Much appreciated. Hippiporium, good afternoon. I love your show. I love that name, Hippiporium. Patricia Burns, Bog, talking with Bill. Sorry, I meant the horrible psychopath. Yes, so that guy Cleotha Abston, I believe he was stalking her. And let me get back to the rape case. They had a rape case from September 21st, 2021. The rape kit wasn't submitted till September 23rd. And there is where we had a huge problem. The rape kit sat on a shelf for months and months and months, was never submitted as evidence. 49 weeks later, in fact, the day they found Eliza Fletcher's body, that rape kit came back as Cleotha, the same guy who murdered her, as being the perpetrator in that rape. So in essence, if that sexual offense evidence kit was submitted earlier, he may have been in prison or in jail awaiting a trial, instead of being out there to commit other crimes. And I'm sure that's not the only crime this guy's committed, since he's been out of prison, I think, 2 years. I think he's committed lots more crimes. He just hasn't been caught yet. Frank Marsha, very sad. There's blood on someone's hands. Amanda Simpson, yes, so tragic. Absolutely. That can't happen. You know, when I spoke to a detective from the NYPD, a retired detective, Eddie Taki, who was a DNA expert, he was in charge of the DNA cases for Manhattan Special Victims. And he said that what I just described wasn't unusual. That when he first took over, Manhattan, or New York City, let's say, had like 3 to 5 years of rape kits sitting on shelves that were never tested. Is that disgusting? That's your government. That's your government. And then somehow they got a grant and they cleared all of them. And many of the cases had state prison inmates attached to them that were sitting in prison for other crimes. Many of them had perpetrators walking the streets of New York that had committed violent rapes. And these evidence kits were sitting on shelves. Isn't that horrendous? Horrendous, right? Today, with DNA turnaround being in some cases less than 24 hours, that can never happen again. Texas had a 3-strike law, and this guy had 9 assaults with deadly weapons, and he opened a family business. Unbelievable, right? Misty Kate, horrible. Yeah, it happens to be a true story. And Amy M, it's not just New York City. It's all over the country. You know, as I do this show and we go to different jurisdictions, I realize just how good the NYPD is. You see some of these police departments, and some of them are horrendous. I don't know where they learn their policing from, but some of them are absolutely horrendous, and some of them are outstanding. The job that the Memphis police did on the Eliza Fletcher case was second to none. They did an outstanding job. They had the FBI there, they had the TBI, and within 18 hours, they had that DNA back and identified a perpetrator. They did an outstanding job. I cannot say enough about them. Denise Ellis, we just got justice March 24th, 22. Sex crime conviction rate in 60s, 33%. Wow. So let me get back again. I transgress to different cases. Follow the grain in your own wood. I love that name. Good to see you. Follow the grain in your own wood. One of the things, of course, with Jolissa Fuentes, you got to find out. I talk about this all the time, and I try to teach you guys this. Is something called victimology, and that simply is the study of the victim. And that it sounds simple, but it takes into consideration a lot of things. What does the victim like to do? Where does the victim work? Does the victim have any boyfriends, girlfriends? What are the habits of the victim? Alcohol use, drug use, history, mental condition, mental health condition, education, criminal history, work history, their computer, their cell phone, their vehicle. All of these things comprise victimology. Sergeant Bill, how do we decrease crime? I think you have to punish the people that commit crime. I don't think these programs, and I'm not speaking exclusively, some first-time offenders or second-time offenders, maybe they deserve what's called diversion programs, where they go into a mental health program, a drug rehab, an alcohol rehab, an anger management. That may work for a new criminal. But a seasoned criminal, no. They need a jail cell. They need a prison cell. And that's where our society, I think, is erring, that they don't care about the victims out here. They care more about the criminals. And that's what I think. Ken Main swears by what, Patricia Burns? Swears by what? By diversion programs? Talks to angels, no rehabilitation for monsters. No, there is no rehabilitation for monsters. They're never going to change. They need a prison cell, you know. Ken Maines is that retired detective that does the the cold cases, right? He does a very good job. I watched a few of his. He does a very good job. Some of those cases, someone first once asked us or recommended we do the John Benet Ramsey case, and I think that what most people think is that the answer is inside that house. It's either the father or a relative that was there. That's, I think that's why no one wants to take that case on, because they think they have the answer. The local police, I think they have the answer. And there's been so much politics behind that. Like there was something that I think the court there exonerated the father. I don't know how they do that when I think the local police think that the answer, again, is inside that house. So, it's the same thing when people get released from prison. It should never be. My uncle was murdered in 1991 in Houston, Texas while driving a yellow cab. 3 that killed were out of prison for previous violent crimes because of the overcrowding. That's horrendous. Isn't that horrendous? When that happens on a crime that could be prevented and these 3 thugs are out on the street because, there's no room in the prisons? Make room. Build more prisons, Denise Olis, the evidence speaks loud if handled correctly. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, guys. So we were talking about the victimology. You learn a lot about a victim through studying their background. Results of interviews. So important. And I spoke about that in the Kylie Rodney case. We as the public have never heard anything from the police in regards to the results of the interviews of those 300 or 400 kids that were at that party, right? We've never heard that. There's, hello, Bill and chat friends, on road listening in. Lieutenant Pete, always good to see you, buddy. We've never heard the results of those interviews. There's a lot of answers in the results of those interviews as to what occurred. Again, with the Kylie Rodney case, the autopsy is not back. We don't know specifically now the cause of death or the manner, the cause or the manner of death. Did she drown? Was she killed before she went into the car? Is this an accidental death or is this a homicide? None of that has been ruled on yet because the autopsy as well as the toxicology has not come back yet. Look, victimology is something that has been done in a homicide investigation forever. The homicide investigators' Bible, used to be the Bible, I don't know if it still is a book called Practical Homicide Investigation that was written by retired NYPD Lieutenant Commander Vernon Gebhardt. And I had that book. I used to use that book when I taught college. And victimology is one of the most important things. And Ken Maines, you mentioned him. The answer sometimes, I'd say 80 to 90% of the times, is somewhere in the victimology. You're going to find the answer to what happened in the victimology. Am I oversimplifying it? They can even call victimology, as you get bigger and more technical, something called data mining. When you list a person and write down everything about this person. Where do they live? Where did they go to school? Cars they own, jobs they have, girlfriends, friends, boyfriends, mother and father, family tree, alcohol use, drug use. I mentioned all of this stuff before, but it becomes, we either call it data mining, and again, use a computer for a lot of this stuff. It's like when you see a big investigation with the police department on like a gang, and the gang has all different levels, and you got the top rung, the bosses, then the second level and third, and then you got the soldiers, and before you know it, it's a whole, almost like a family tree, except it's a gang tree. They used to use that with the mob in New York City, the Gambino crime family at the very top years ago, John Gotti. Next level, underboss, Sammy the Bulgarano. Then after that, we have the captains, you know. And then after that, we have the soldiers and the associates and the whole. And that helps law enforcement keep track and understand who are the players, you know. Amanda Simpson, so fascinating, all this knowledge. But, well, thank you so much. You know, one of the things that when I would have a homicide, or I'd be running a homicide, I like to use an easel. And an easel, you would write down all the specifics of the case: time of occurrence, location of occurrence, victim, age, date of birth, residence, method of death: gunshot wound, stabbing, blunt trauma. Obviously, it was a homicide, because what else we wouldn't have been using the easel for it. And using the easel and putting all the pictures and then explaining the case, all the detectives that were working it and the detectives that were coming in. Hey, Mickey Mantle, there's only one Supreme Commander. Well, thank you. Ken Maines talks about the same book, and he thinks victimology is the number one thing that's going to help the detective clearing the ground. But he's right. Well, he's right. But you know something? It's something that every detective knows this. Every boss that investigates knows this. So, but do they necessarily call it the victimology? That's what it is. That's what it is. If you're going to teach this, teaching non-investigators, it's the victimology. And everything that's why when I was talking about Jolissa Fuentes' family, getting answers from the family, as much as they mean well, they don't know Jolissa Fuentes' secrets. They don't know, for example, I think they all said she didn't have a boyfriend. But I don't know if they know that. You know, so many investigations I would go to, and the parents would swear, Frank Marshall, yes, she did. She actually tried to FaceTime her grandmother, and that was at 5:24 in the morning of the day that she was reported missing. It is strange, but I think that the Selma, California police now are considering this case to be a criminal case. It's not a missing person anymore. I think that they actually think that this could be a human trafficking case. They have had human trafficking cases in that area before, and Jamie, they said no drug use, but I believe she was buying a Dutch at the gas station at 4 a.m. A blunt, a Dutch, yeah. You know, it's funny. People wouldn't know what you were talking about, but sometimes people would buy cigars, empty out the tobacco, and put marijuana in there, and that's called a blunt, you know. And someone in the chat suggested that maybe Jolissa was buying a cigar to use as a blunt at that hour. You know, I don't know what she bought, but the police apparently have the receipt. The police know what she bought. When I watched the interview with Adventures with Purpose with the mom, the aunt, and the sister, they had no idea what she bought, because the police are keeping that close to the vest. They don't want everyone to know that, right? Laugh out loud, sorry, that's called a blunt. That's what I said. I said it's called a blunt. Yo, main girl, stay open. Yeah, that's what I called it. It's called a blunt. But they empty out the tobacco in a cigar. Heather, whatever. You know something? Yeah, I think that you have more of it. Let me just teach you something else. There's something in homicide investigation called the Homicide Continuum, okay? And what Vernon Gebert talks about in his book is being a low, a medium, or a high-risk individual to become the victim of a homicide. Low, obviously, you're not out at 4:30 in the morning. You just go about your business. You have very little alcohol or drug use at all. You don't take part in high-risk activities like scoring drugs somewhere in a bad neighborhood at 4 in the morning. And I'm not suggesting Jolissa did this, but being out at 4:30 in the morning raises your chances of becoming the victim of a crime. And I'm just even saying a homicide, any crime. You're out there. Did anyone see just yesterday, it was Saturday, I believe, an LSU student, 21-year-old senior, was stopped at a light by a railroad station, and someone fired 12 rounds through her windshield and killed her. What was that all about? You know? And again, she has nothing to do with someone doing that, but being out, she was out at 2 in the morning. And everyone has a right to be out at any time they want, any time, any place, but it raises, this is what we're talking about, a low, medium, or high risk of becoming the victim of a crime or a homicide. You know, and obviously, someone that's a high risk, if someone's out there as a streetwalker and walking the streets as a prostitute, they have a very high risk of becoming the victim of a murder. Or someone's pitching crack on a corner. They have a very, very high risk of becoming a victim of a murder. High risk professions like that, right? Kim Allison, Sergeant Bill, that's very sad. It's horrible. I can't even imagine having a 21-year-old daughter who's a superstar in every way. It's just about to graduate and someone fires 12 rounds through her windshield of her car. It's beyond horrendous. So let's get back to Jolissa, all right? How much does the family know? How much does the family know about Jolissa's disappearance? And I know that they're plugged into the neighborhood, but this neighborhood has had human trafficking cases and kidnappings before. So are they plugged in? You know, and I suggested the last time I was on, we spoke about this case, is this neighborhood have a lot of gangbangers? Are there a lot of gangs in these neighborhoods? Because guess what? A lot of these gangs are involved in human trafficking, you know? Martha M. Mine, it appears safe areas are not really safe at all. You know, Irma Rivera, who I've had on the show numerous times, she was a Manhattan Special Victims Detective. She was also a Manhattan South Homicide Detective, and she's now a private investigator. And she told me that a lot of these gangs that used to be involved in the drug trade are now involved in the human trafficking trade. So turning over these young girls and forcing them into prostitution. Could this have happened? Our parents taught us victimology was called common sense back then. Yeah, well, you know something, everyone's heard that expression, oh, nothing good happens after 1 o'clock in the morning. And some people would say everything good happens, you know, but that happens to be true. You're in more danger when you're out after that time because many of the other people, retired detectives have a wealth of experience, absolutely, but you know something? Sometimes detectives have to leave at some point. Enough is enough. They could go into some private sector investigations, but how long are you going to work for the police department, you know? 105 in the chat, guys. I hope you guys find this interesting today. I was trying to just give you a little more background on the Jolissa Fuentes case and where they are at this case. This case is now, of course, coming on 6 weeks old. It's actually over 6 weeks old now. It's coming up on 6 weeks old. Jamie, what happened to the 10 p.m.? Do you know where your children are? Yeah, that's now children are out at all hours. We always speak about, on these cases, cell phone pings. And cell phone technology is so important. Again, you saw it in the Eliza Fletcher case. It literally was what helped solve that case, you know, the cell phone pings. There's other secret cell phone technology that I won't go into here, but be confident that law enforcement uses all of this technological stuff to get the bad guy. Benita Julin, good evening from Finland. Make sure you subscribe, Benita. Good to see you here. Always good to get people here from Finland, you know. They call you Finnish. You're Finnish, right? You're not Finnish, you're Finnish, right? I like that. It's funny. On the Jolissa Fuentes case too, how about tips? You always see in New York City 1-800-577-TIPS. And tips are so important because, again, ad nauseum, if you see something, say something, right? And we always count on people, if they see something, to call it in. Call it in as a tip, you know. K.H. Walker, I remember when cell phone technology first came out in 1991. Wow. I didn't get a phone right away. I was a little suspect, and then you just couldn't really be a member of this society without a cell phone. Does anyone know anyone these days that doesn't have a cell phone? I mean, someone may have one of those old flip phones, but I think everyone realizes the worth and how important it is to have a cell phone. I love that you're willing to share your knowledge and your good heart with us. Thank you, sir. Patricia Burns. Thank you, Patricia. That was very nice of you. I just want you, when you watch these cases, you follow these cases, to understand what's going on and what the methodology is of investigators, what the methodology is of the police, and really how delicate some of these investigative resources are. That's why the police keep things close to the vest. And Thomas Jordan, thank you, buddy. You're the best at Sergeant Bill. Denise Olas, my friend, has home phone and don't like change. Yeah, but it's, you know, something, you could have an emergency anywhere. I mean, just all the things that a phone can do for you, you know, besides go shopping on it, which isn't a necessity, but I don't know many people these days that go to stores anymore. Everyone needs clothes. I just go, I order it on Amazon. They deliver it right to my door, right? Most stores, a lot of stores are closed now. How many malls are there? Mamma mia! Hello, after all. You know, so the world has changed, and I guess, Bill, have they interviewed the people at the party where Jolissa was before she went missing? I would think that that would be law enforcement's number one thing to do, and I'm sure they did that. I mean, without knowledge, but that would be what we would call part of an investigative checklist, and that would be at the very top of the checklist. Interview the people at the party she was at, 100%. After all, Colin Quinn is a funny piece on Amazon. I haven't seen it, but Colin Quinn is a funny guy, you know. So yeah, it's so important, you know, that they follow. You know, we used to hate checklists, but you know, sometimes they're important. When you reach a stumbling block and you think, oh, what should we do now? And maybe you go back and you refer to the checklist and you say, oh, you know something, we didn't try this. Let's try this, you know. Jamie yesterday also said she had a fight with a friend at the party. I would think that would be the first thing that the police would do, is go back to that friend and talk to her and interview that person and see if, you know, it had anything to do with it, you know. Pamela White, thanks, Bill. Love your show. Thank you, Pamela. So good to see you guys. I'm glad to be back. I'm going back to Florida on November 1st, and hopefully going to try to stay there most of the winter. I'll come back and forth, and my wife's going to be visiting me, like, you know, as often as she can. I mean, she can't leave here because she does have a job here. But after all, yay! 109 in the chat, 98 with the thumbs up. Martha and mind you think if something doesn't seem right, 100%, I tell that to everyone. Your instincts are the most important barometer you have. And if you think or feel something's wrong, then it is, you know, 100%. I go with instincts 100%. If something doesn't seem right, it's not. Because we as human beings have instincts just like animals. Guys, I'm coming up on 50 minutes. I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. Yes, Heather, whatever, Burt Reynolds Town, that's for sure. Have a great day, and I'll see you very, very soon. Bye now.